we look at the matter of energy and the hype which has attended the geothermal energy exploration. And before I make any comment, because it has been said that CCM party never spoke of geothermal energy. Very strange. The very people who say that we never spoke of it are the very ones who accuse us of having had it but did nothing with it. Do you detect, and I detect a paradox and clearly a conflict which clearly is expressed there. But I want to read from the 2006 budget, just one little paragraph which sets out the fact that the CCM party was bent and committed to alternate energy to replace or to supplement fossil fuels. And it is on paragraph 130 of the budget of 2006 budget presented in the House on the 7th of December 2005, and it reads thus: however, Madam President, despite the fact that we have no control over the global trend in oil prices, and we did predict based on readings and research we had done that we would go to $100 for gas and for oil and so on, steps can be taken to ensure that we are part of the move to seek alternative sources of energy such as the G word, geothermal, solar, wind, and so on, as measures to reduce our dependency on fossil fuel. And it goes on. There are many organizations that are currently exploring these alternative sources, some of which are already in use in other parts of the world. For example, the administration is part of an OAS project that is looking at exploring geothermal energy sources in 3 countries in the region, namely Dominica, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis. I read that, or have read that, just to say to the people of this country that the CCM party began the process of looking at geothermal and solar energy and wind energy to deflect the increase in oil prices, which would have a debilitating effect on our production of electricity, and also create to try and reduce the cost of electricity. So that clearly puts to rest all of the hype and the nonsense which the government has said over the past year. But the difference is, we are approaching this matter cautiously, because the exploration for geothermal energy, although it has been done in different places in the world, requires caution. It is risky, it is uncertain, one never knows what one will get when one digs down into the earth. And while we are hearing that there has been exploration down in the earth and they're getting heat of 374 or higher, that is not the end of the process. It is only the exploration. And so the gymnastics which were performed in the House of Assembly 2 weeks ago today were simply that, gymnastics, with trying to cover up something which was done improperly. That is, to try and retrospectively provide a licensing regime. But I don't know how you can grant a license when people are already beginning retrospectively. But government can go to the House and pass legislation and can get it done, even if the legislation and the intent of legislation does not in fact make any good sense or is ready to cover up. Now, the geothermal issue, and I want to speak a little bit about the uncertainty. Now, the uncertainty says to me that when you dig down, you never know how far you're going to have to go. You never know what is the temperature that you will get. But you need not just heat, you need steam. And steam can only be generated if you have some vapor, some water vapor, which intermingles with heat. I am no geophysicist. I never did science in school, but common sense tells me that, because every day I think I'm involved in some kind of activity, cooking at home. I see the wife doing it. I have done it myself, and I know if you have water, you can have steam if heat is applied to it. So all of the things which have been said clearly have not taken into consideration the fact that we are dealing with something uncertain. We're dealing with something which could be very expensive to bring to the marketplace, and that the exploration which has been done is simply that, exploration. And if we were to follow what the businessman, who is not a geophysicist or a scientist himself, said, it has already cost over $10 million to do the exploration, based on the ad hoc deal, handshake deal, or retrospectively sealed deal which has been done. The question is, let us assume that we are not able to bring the geothermal energy to distribution levels in the quantity which has been indicated. Who will pay for that $10 million? Will the handshake simply say, well, you took a risk, and therefore, having taken a risk, you are prepared to take the loss as well? Now, I say that. It sounds a little callous, but it's a question which we must ask ourselves, right? The matter of the royalty and the licensing regimes and the concessions and so on, I think were adequately dealt with the Honorable Mark Brantley in the House when he debated the bill. And I do regret that I came back to Nevis after 4 that afternoon and was not able to go to the House because I hadn't seen the bill. But it's one of those regrets that I have, because really and truly, when I listened to the debate, all I heard were personal attacks and the hype of everybody in Nevis can get rich, and that the CCM government played with geothermal. We were playing with it because we knew we had to handle it carefully. We had to approach it cautiously. And we were expecting at the end of the initial processes that we would have had money from the World Bank or from the CDB to engage in the exploration. And when the exploration would have been successful, then we would have engaged the NEVLEC and or private sector persons with the technology to bring the electricity to the people. And that, I think, would have made better sense than what we are dealing with now. It is instructive also that the entrepreneur has said that he cannot name the people who are financing him. Even if he wanted to do so, he couldn't do it. Now that rings a big bell in my head, and it is causing me very serious headache, because if you are in the open and having sealed a deal with government to explore, and you cannot say to the government who is financing the exploration, then all of us in this country need to say to the government, come clean. Let the man tell us, or you tell us, because they ought to know, if they don't know, who is financing, which are the European banks and the European financiers who are behind this energy seeking. Let me look at one thing. Look at Dominica, which is part of the ORS project. And I will stop just after this, because I definitely want to hear from the Honorable Mark Brantley and Colin Tyrrell. Dominica, where the man went and was turned away, are now fully involved in geothermal exploration. And they, in Dominica, are being financed by the European Development Fund and the European Union, not by any private financier, because they recognized whatever was being told to them. And you will understand that we had to turn over the same man. We had to cut off from him because we were not satisfied with what was being told to us. But Dominica, and thanks to the Prime Minister there, they were wise to say we'll have no deal with the gentleman, Mr. MacDonald. But they have now gone to explore geothermal, and it's being financed by the European Development Fund and the European Union. If that is not instructive, then tell me what is. And no amount of hype. But the hype will soon turn, and it's we are living on hope, because I say we are dealing with an uncertain risky business. And while I would be happy if we get geothermal energy in Nevis because we started the process, I am a little worried about what is happening and what it may spell for the people of Nevis.